in the time of trouble. And I'm thankful for the Lord touching Sister Pam's body, her being here today. Yes, yes, that's right. We take some things for granted, but I'm thankful for the Lord waking me up this morning and being able to put my feet on the floor and move forward. I don't want to ever take those things for granted. I'm thankful for the Lord's help today and His provision and His graciousness to us. Our last week we learned a little bit about civil rivalry. If I can tell Brother Kane this morning, I got up really saying crazy things. So I said, maybe I don't need to talk very much today. All my words are coming out a little crazy. So, hey, just read between the lines today. But our lesson today is on Joseph. And I know most of us in the house this morning, we know the story of Joseph. But to me, it's a beautiful story because if we'll just take note of what the process was, because sometimes we look at our lives and God has promise in our lives, but it don't go as we plan. And it doesn't always look like what we thought. But I always say this, and I'll say it again this morning. God measures success differently than man measures success. And if you are doing the will of God, no matter how crazy your life looks, it's all right. It is all right. He didn't say everything was going to be, all roses without the thorns. So our lesson text today comes actually from a number of chapters in Genesis chapter 37 through 50, but our focus verse today is Genesis 50, verse 20. And this is the most powerful part, and I'll say it again before I end the lesson today. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. You might not know why you are where you are today, but God has purpose. Oh, I feel the Lord in the house today. God empowered Joseph to live faithfully for him in unfavorable conditions and unfavorable circumstances. I mean, he went through a lot. Did he have promise? Did he have a dream? Did God give him a dream? Yes, God gave him a dream. Remember, we learned about Jacob and Israel and Jacob's name being changed to Israel last week. We talked about some transformation, given a new name. Well, Joseph was, and I don't know if it's easier for you to think of Jacob or Israel, but that was Jacob's son that he loved dearly. But living in covenant does not exempt us, and I want you to catch that this morning, from tough times. Just because you're living in covenant with God doesn't mean you're going to never have a battle. You know, I say it a lot of times, people, sitting on the pew, and I don't say it in a negative manner, but sometimes they look on the platform and they think, oh, they have it all together and they never have a problem. But that's false. I can just tell you it's very false. We live in a world, and I want you to think about it a little bit this morning, that, and kind of going a little bit off the lesson, but I want you to think about it this morning. We have unrealistic views of a lot of things in life because of the pictures that Hollywood paints. You know, have you ever seen a billboard that is um, portraying someone drinking, and they look like they're living life and they're having the best time, but they never show the heartache and the abuse that is behind all of that. And so I want you to think sometimes what we see on the surface is not always reality. But I'm going to tell you today, if you're living for God, it doesn't matter. You know what? The people in the world have problems, and the people in the church have problems. But one thing we have going for us today is Jesus. He is the greatest counselor, healer, provider, and I could stand up here all day and say what he is. And we have Jesus on our side. Oh, hallelujah. I'm thankful. But the story of Joseph will illustrate that even though he was in God's plan, everything wasn't perfect. And Genesis 37 introduces the teenage Joseph with signs pointing to maybe trouble that he was going to face. First of all, how many of you know his brothers hated him because Jacob, their dad, made no attempt to hide his favoritism to Joseph. Because we know today he made him a coat of many colors. Yes. Yes. No. Joseph was the first son, and Benjamin was the second son. That's when she died. The favoritism was towards Joseph. Yes, it was. Well, if you think about it, really, Rachel was really the one Jacob wanted to marry. Leah just got given to him, but you know what? The Lord blessed Leah and opened up her where she could just bear children. Isn't that awesome? But the Lord did remember Rachel, and Joseph was born, and yet Benjamin also. And so they knew that coat of many colors was very special. And so you can imagine how many of y'all today have ever been in a situation that just some little something can trigger feelings. You know. And so you can imagine when they seen that coat of many colors. Yes, they were. Can you imagine the envy and then to go with that, Joseph had 2 dreams in which the members of his family bowed down to him. And let's just face it today, even if the Lord gives you a dream, don't expect everybody to be excited about it. After he shared those dreams with his families, his brothers even hated him more. So, there we go. Considering all of this, we're on our way for Joseph's purpose. But because of that sibling envy and rivalry and trying to get to where they wanted to be, it's not surprising that Joseph's brothers conspired against him to slay him in Genesis 37 and 18. They conspired against him to slay him. And they caught him and they threw him into a dry well to die. Reuben, the oldest brother, he had made a plan to come back and get him. because he really didn't want to kill him. He was probably thinking about his dad, I'm not sure. But so the brother Judah, he suggested that they sell him as a slave to the Midianite merchants. And so, they had all this little scheme. And so they stripped Joseph of that beautiful coat of many colors, and they dipped it in goat's blood, and they presented it to their dad, leading him to believe that his favorite son had been killed by a wild animal. That's what they wanted him to believe. But they had sold him. And then for just 20 pieces of silver, the price of a slave, Joseph's brothers committed one of the Bible's most despicable acts of betrayal. Have you ever just been betrayed? It didn't stop. It didn't stop in Bible days. You know that? You see all the stuff that happens in the Bible, it's still going on today. Because there's still people in the world. And we laugh about it all the time. People say, oh, talking about a perfect church. Well, if you had a perfect church, you wouldn't have any people in it. Because as soon as you got there, it wouldn't be perfect if you were present. Anyway. But remember, these were all descendants of Abraham. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then them. But envy and hatred caused them to forget who they were supposed to be. Do not let envy, hatred, anything cause you to forget what you're supposed to be. The enemy wants to distract you and get you riled up about something and forget what God has called you to be. Joseph was faced with hardship. Joseph did not spiral down into self-pity, nor was he consumed with a desire, and this is a big thing, a desire for revenge. How many have ever had someone do something and you thought, I'll get them? Revenge. Even after that betrayal, that wasn't Joseph. And then Joseph, he was sold, and then they sold him. The Midianites sold him to an Egyptian officer named Potiphar. And you might think, oh, it's going to be perfect at Potiphar's house. The captain of Pharaoh's guard. But there's some speculation that some scholars believe that Potiphar was Pharaoh's personal bodyguard and even led Pharaoh's executioners. Now, I don't know all about that, but some scholars say that. But Joseph decided to make the best. Hey, you know what? Some things we have no power over. He was sold as a slave. He couldn't just get up and say, well, I don't like slave life today. I'm going to do something different. Because he had been sold. They owned him.